I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 25th, brought to you in part by the Red River Beefmaster Performance Group and their Red River Bull Sale that's going to be this Saturday at 11 a.m., October the 29th, held at the Paris, Texas Livestock Auction there just east of Paris, Texas. These bulls are performance tested. They started out with 140 head. They culled them down to 75 head. These are the very best bulls that they have. They're guaranteed fertile 180 days. They've got free trucking. They've got volume discount. Be sure to check out that sale. And if you can't make it to Paris, Texas, get on to DV Auction. Check out that sale for Saturday, and you need to get onto DV Auction anyway and just look that sale up and check out their catalog. Having the edge. I'm not sure if your fat cattle sellers really know how to handle this. How do they handle the leverage? They know that they're in the driver's seat. We've got tight supplies of market-ready cattle. We've got very aggressive packers with fast chain speeds in their facilities. And so how do we do this? How do we handle this? Some guys have never been in this situation really before as of yet. You've got to price the cattle higher. A lot of guys that I've talked to in the north are priced at 155 and holding strong at 155 at least through the first half of the week. Guys got to stick together. Got to do like the packer buyers do. You got to text each other, call each other, let everybody know what's going on, and stick together. Get another big bite out of this market here while the sun's shining. You've got to try to do that, guys. We have to stick together to try to get as much of this market as we can get. And it'll be interesting to see how much ground we can make between now and the end of the year. Now, when we get closer to the end of the year, we're going to get into some cattle, some slightly heavier supplies. But for the next month or 6 weeks here, we could really gain a lot of ground in the market and push it to some levels that we haven't seen for quite some time. But you have to be able to handle success, guys. How much will this fat cattle market help the feeders? Now, we saw cash feeders up on Monday. Of course, we knew we would. They were up some on the board too. But, you know, our cost of gains are so much. And it's so tough to figure what it's going to cost you to feed these cattle. It's got guys pretty leery. And your October feeder cattle, a spot month, was up just 40 cents on Monday. Your index levels, your real-time index, which is always current and up to date, it was up nearly $1, but still hanging behind those spot feeder cattle futures months because guys are just a little shy about biting off some of these cattle. There's not that many real desirable yearlings to feed. The grass yearlings are about done. Then you're going to have to get into backgrounded cattle. Those are some good yearlings there too. A lot of them have real good quality. Guys have put them together and kept them good, but it's hard to take those cattle from that backgrounding facility, or basically a feedlot for lighter cattle, and move them into yours and find something that they like to eat as much as what they were liking that the guy before was doing. So those cattle are going to back up a little bit. You bring cattle in from a grass pasture, especially the grass pastures that are available here this fall. I mean, they think they died and went to heaven whenever they stick their head in that bunk. But it's not going to be quite as easy on your backgrounded cattle, but that's pretty much all that's going to be available going forward here much. But we talked a little bit about the cattle on feed report on our last visit, but you know, being that it was so neutral, it was actually kind of bullish is what your traders, especially your guys in Chicago, thought. They were glad to see that hard proof that we saw. If you dig into that cattle on feed a little bit more, it was the first cattle on feed report that saw our inventories in the feedlot lighter, and we know that a big heavy supply of our inventories that are in there now are lighter weight. So, but it was still good to see one. It was the first one all this year that we've seen that had inventories lighter than a year ago. You look at your inventories on feed, and we see that Texas was up 3.3% compared to a year ago. Iowa was the same. Nebraska was up 3.8% from a year ago, but Kansas down 6.7% inventories compared to a year ago. And that's kind of a curious quote there, but you kind of see where we're lighter at and got where the cattle are not going. But you know, Texas was curious that they were up 3.3%, and we know that we feed a lot of Mexican cattle in Texas. And Texas inventories in the feedlot in October the 1st were up 3.3%, even though the third quarter, the last quarter that we just finished, your Mexican cattle in imports were down 20% compared to a year ago. Where's all those cattle coming from? Coming out of central Texas, coming out of the drought out areas there. But we're not seeing as many Mexican cattle being imported. But you know, guys in Texas Panhandle like to handle Mexican cattle, and everybody grumbles and everything. They don't die. You know, it's so much more fun to handle cattle that don't die. And those cattle, you know, they're coming out of pretty rough places down there south of the border. It's not just rough on people, it's rough on cattle too. But they're glad to get over here. It's actually easier for the people to cross the southern border than it is the cattle. The cattle, they have to be there, they have to be dipped, they have to be counted, they have to be fully vetted and everything before they can come across. The people, they just pour across down there. But and like I said, the numbers of market-ready cattle are tight. They are lower, and I'm talking market-ready cattle been on feed over 120 days. But if you look at the data, which you can trust as much as you want, on that cattle on feed report, you see that our market-ready cattle been on feed 120 days or more. But if you put them on feed weighing 4, you know, they're not going to be finished 120 days. But that's got something to do with it. But I'm saying that compared to last year, yes, we are tighter on market-ready supplies. But if you look at the five-year average of the last 5 years, we've got more cattle that's been on feed 120 days or more than we have the average of the last 5 years. And I saw that on the daily livestock report through CME. Try to give guys credit whenever I get information from them, but I look at stuff all the time. Let's talk about your board. Your October live cattle futures were up $1.12 on Monday at 150.160. December up $1.70 at 154.12. Your back months on live cattle up 82 cents to up $1.45. October feeder cattle were up 40 cents on Monday at 175.67. November was up 80 at 179.15. Your back months on feeder cattle all up big from $1.17 to $1.57. Now maybe they can drag your cash feeders up here, but it's usually the other way around. Corn futures, Chicago Board of Trade futures are down 2 3/4 cents a bushel at 681.5. Beans down 23.5 cents a bushel at 13.72. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated trade out of your 5-area feeding region had 85,100 head of fat cattle movement there in the 5 area, which is pretty decent for the way things are now, compared to 62,000 last week and 62,000 the same week a year ago. Live sales of steers and heifers rounded up all through the week last week ranged from 144.5 to 153, which was $1.50 to $2 higher, but it was mostly 148 to 152. 148 in the southern plains, $3 higher. 152 for the most part in the northern plains, $4 higher. Your weighted average on live steers, like I mentioned on the last report, was over 150. That's huge. It was 150.07, up 308 compared to your weighted average from the previous week. Dress sales, steers and heifers ranged from 232 to 236.50, but much lighter movement on dress sales. But your dressed price spread there was $2.50 to $4 higher. Your dressed steer weighted average last week was 235.28, up 368 from your weighted average from the previous week. Nationwide, we had 102,800 head sell negotiated, which is up pretty good. That's pretty good movement, pure negotiated, and you get that when you have a higher market. I don't care what the naysayers say. Negotiated grid was 43,400. Our forward contracts were much more than the previous week. 50,100 did a forward contract signing last week. It was just over 6,000 the previous week. But guys are seeing that the market's going to get really better. Your packers are going out there showing them some prices they had never seen before or haven't seen for 8 or 9 years, and they fell for it. I think we can gain a lot of ground. Stay in this cash market. Stay in the negotiated sales and get this market as high as you can get. We still had 271,800 head of formulated sales last week. Of your pure negotiated sales in the nation, the 102,800, only about 17.6% of those were for the 2 to 4 week or 15 to 30 day delivery, which is not giving them many to set up this market for a fall, because I mean they're behind the 8 ball here. Monday we did see some cattle sell in Iowa at 150. Not sure why people would do that. Or no, there was 150 head of them sell at 151, but they sure still got 152 or better. It's those kind of deals that pull the rug out of the guys that are trying to really negotiate. When a guy says, oh, that sounds pretty good, I'll take that. And then they want to hold the market there, guys. You got to ask more for cattle every week. Box beef cutout values gained big Monday afternoon. Choice cuts were up 421 at 257.92. Selects up 125 at 225.61. Your slaughter for Monday estimated at 126,000. That's pretty aggressive still. Year ago it was 120,000. Talk about what else is going on. Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. Gonna have a good sale here today on Tuesday. 4,500 head. They got a lot of calves, a lot of fancy ranch calves coming in. Some of them not weaned, but most all of them have had a couple of rounds of respiratory shots, which is the most important thing there. But also have 12 to 15 loads of yearlings. Jeff Slatton told me this is the last of his grass yearlings that he expects to get there in Beaver County Stockyard. Said they've just grubbed it completely out. There's nothing left out there. The ones that have been coming off grass, there really wasn't anything for them to eat out there. But be some thin green grass yearlings on Tuesday morning here at Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. He said any yearlings we get now for the next few months are going to be out of a lot somewhere, in a backgrounding lot. We've already talked about that. Your real-time index, talking about your feeder market. Real-time index on DV auction based on an 800-pound steer up through your middle 12 states, including Monday's sales on the 7-day moving average, set at 173.86, up 88 cents compared to the end of last week. Did get some rain in Texas over the weekend. Sunday and Monday had pretty nice rains. Moved into western Oklahoma. A lot of Oklahoma got some rains. This is great. This is about the second round of moderate showers that we've seen. I had a big weekend, was all the way down in Brenham, Texas, working a replacement sale at Cattleman's Brenham Livestock Auction there all day on Sunday, and then had stops to make on Monday. Coming back, totally missed out on a conference call that I really wanted to be on Monday morning. Then stopped in Coleman, Texas at Coleman Livestock Auction. They're a DV auction broadcaster. Been having some trouble with their camera and computer, so installed a new camera and gave them a new computer there. So if you guys are interested in watching the sale out of Coleman Livestock Auction, you should be able to do that now going forward on Wednesdays. But I did note that when I left Coleman, and that was a late Monday afternoon or early evening Monday, it rained steady from there. Drove up through ranch country, up through all the way through Plainview, Texas, which would be south or north of Lubbock there, and all the way through there. Especially through that ranch country there, big ranch country, Guthrie, Texas, 4.6's area, all in there. It was raining. It was one of those frustrating rains where you have to adjust your windshield wipers all the time, from raining so hard you can't see for a minute all the way down to nothing and everywhere in between. But that's pretty good to get a rain like that. We haven't seen too many of those this summer and this fall. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 8,500 head. Feeder steers were $2 to $5 higher. Feeder heifers were $1 to $4 higher. Steer calves were unevenly steady. Heifer calves $2 to $5 higher. They had some of those grass yearlings, the last of the grass yearlings in Oklahoma City. One impressive quote on some of those thinner grass yearlings was 112 head, 771 pound steers bring 190.85. Big time quote out of Oklahoma National Stockyards. Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri, there in southwest Missouri, 4,600 head for them. Feeder steers there were $2 to $6 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $3 higher. Good demand for calves there, $8 to $13 higher on steer and heifer calves in Joplin. They had a big swath of cattle in there that sold really good. You see the condition on those cattle and doesn't really look all that green, but really nice cattle, and a bunch of them been together for a long time. 248 head, 883 pound steers bring 179.85 Joplin Regional Stockyards. Your Zoetis stick-out sale of the day on Monday was Faith Livestock Auction, Faith, South Dakota, 8,800 head. Another big calf special. Man, do they sell them there at Faith. But you look at this automated market report out of Faith Livestock Auction, you see all your numbers were in the lightweight calves. Look at 1,780 head of full-weight steer calves, average 466 at 241.36. That was $4 higher than the big sale that they had last Monday. 3,298 head, 5-weight steers, average 552 with a weighted average price of $216.77. That was about $1 higher. Look down at your heifers. 1,189 head of 4-weight heifer calves, average 454. The weighted average price of $202.81, be a couple bucks cheaper. And 1,312 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average 532 with a weighted average price of $200.43, which was $5 higher than the last sale at Faith. Talk about some individual quotes. Faith again had the best calf quote that I saw on Monday. 100 head, 524 pound steers bring 238 in Faith, South Dakota. How about Elgin, Nebraska? Elgin Livestock Sales, Buddy Ted Baum there and his family run that sale, and man, when they have them good. 82 head, 852 pound steers in Elgin, Nebraska bring 185.25. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. 157 head, 979 pound steers bring $180 smooth. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.